so glad to be back with you for another episode of Soul Swami. I don't think this jacket's gonna work. I think I look cool in it, but I'm hot already. What's your name, girlfriend? I forgot already. Again, so glad to be back with you for another episode of Soul Swami Live. I was just having a conversation with one of my friends, and we were talking about these parents. How they can be worse than the kids sometimes. So laughing, I seen this video where somebody was talking about we need to bring back spanking parents. Never know it was a thing, but definitely if we did some of the things that they do when we were kids, they definitely would have spanked us for that. So I get it. We could joke about it, laugh about it, even though we wouldn't do it. So welcome to Soul Swami Live. I am Anthony, known as Soul Swami. What we do here is try to create a space, that an energetic space, a collective energy, so that we can all tap into that collective energy as we attempt to evolve and grow into our best version of ourselves by healing our mental, spiritual, emotional, and physical bodies, all of those things. We do this because healing is a communal event, right? Many times we get in that space where we think we need to do it all alone, but things are a lot easier when we know that we aren't alone in this journey. So that's what we do here. Everybody comes in to help create a collective energy that we all can tap into. As I stated, we do this every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. We also have a Thursday night show that's at 7 p.m. Eastern, which is kind of a spin-off of this Tuesday night show. But Thursday night is focused on us being in a space where, not us being in a space, you know what? I guess my communication been all right because I've been leaving my ring off lately. So, but yeah, Tuesday night is a spin-off of Thursday night is a spin-off of this show, and creating a space for us to be able to connect with our childlike energy. It started off with book club where we're reading books, but now we're doing things like puzzles. We might play games. We'll do all types of different things that allow us to reconnect with that childlike energy, because even though we let go of some of our childish ways, we let go of too many things, and some of those things bring us joy. So we want to make sure we incorporate those things back in our lives as we are healing and evolving to the best version of ourselves. If you are new here, generally at the start of the show, we do a little bit of energy work. And this week we are on our solar plexus. That energy spot, or chakra, some people call it, is located right here in our stomach, right? So if you have some stomach issues, digestion issues, acid reflux, irritable bowel syndrome, all of those are signs that you need to do a little bit of solar plexus work, little work with your energy. Your solar plexus is the central point for your personal power. It is for your self-esteem. It is for your strength, your ego, and your confidence. All of those things reside right there in your stomach. Your stomach is a reflection of those things, right? The energetic reflection of those things. If you are into color therapy, the color for your solar plexus is yellow. So that means wear more yellow clothes, eat more yellow foods, spend some time in some yellow light, including the sun. The sun is very good for your solar plexus, as well as a multitude of things. You want to make sure you're spending time with that. If you are into essential oils and aromatherapy, you want to think lemon, cedar, juniper, ginger, lemongrass. I'm so proud because it's the first time I didn't laugh when I said juniper, because those clips had me in a chokehold for a while when Juniper was doing prank calls to people. So now I finally got past the space where I'm not laughing when. Thank you, Ivy, as always. You know I appreciate you. I miss you. We need to connect soon whenever we can. I know you got a lot going on. I did try to. I think I stalker called you the other weekend, but we'll connect when we have the availability. If you are into crystals and gemstones, you want to think citrine. On Thursday night, you'll see I got a large citrine that's bigger than my hand. It's big size to me. And you want to think citrine. You want to think tiger's eye. Sunstone is all good for that. Pyrite. And I got a little, this is my pyrite right there. Topaz, rutilated quartz, yellow jasper. All of those things are very good for the energy of your solar plexus. But remember, you don't need any of these things. The power is in you. So the power is in the belief. So if you believe you can heal it, you can just lay your hands on your stomach and set intentions that you want to heal the energy of your stomach. So the next thing we do is a little bit of sound therapy, where I generally play the bowl or some sort of instrument that we got going on, and then we'll do some affirmations, and then we'll get started with the show. I did bring my flute out this time because I've been excited about the flute. So I am gonna play the bowl a little bit, but then we're gonna hear a little bit of the flute as well because I've been loving the flute myself. So during this time, all you really have to do is just relax, clear yourself of the energy of the day, and put yourself in a space to be able to start assessing how you are functioning within your doer ego. One of your identity based egos was the doer ego, right? Again, be patient with me. We learning this thing together. So the next thing that we'll do is a little bit of breath work. I think today is a good day for box breathing. If you are unfamiliar with box breathing, it is 444. The numbers generally tell you how long to inhale, how long to hold your breath, and how long to exhale. All of these good things are, all of these breath exercises that we do are ways to reestablish a stable, a sense of stability within your life energetically, and it forces you to be mindful of your breathing and paying attention to how your breathing changes based on the situations that we endure or face, right? So during this time, all you have to do is just listen to the sound of my voice, and I will guide you through the breath worth of box breathing, which is 444. On the count of three, family, we will start with box breathing. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold 4, 2, 3, 4. Release 4, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold 4, 2, 3, 4. Release 4, 2, 3, 4. Last time, family. Breathe in 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold 4, 2, 3, 4. Release 4, 2, 3, 4. Next, we will do the affirmations. These are things that you can say to activate the energy of your solar plexus. That's your personal power, your self-esteem, your strength, your ego, and your confidence. Your confidence. These things remind you of the power that you have in this world, and they also help to remind you that you are worthy. So repeat these affirmations after me and begin to incorporate them in your life. I am confident. I act with courage. I am a powerful being. I am motivated, persistent, and successful. I honor myself. I am confident. I act with courage. I am a powerful being. I am motivated, persistent, and successful. And I honor myself. All right. Now we can get this party started. Had a little water. It fell over. It's about to start raining where I'm at. I can hear the thunder in the background. I guess I found a newfound love for rain after living in the Midwest, specifically Wisconsin. And it snowed all the time. Once that snow started falling out the sky, it just seemed like it never stopped. So it'd get the periods. Well, I'd be so happy that we got anything other than snow. I mean, spaghetti and meatballs. Cloudy with a chance to meatballs. It could have rained meatballs. And I'd have been so excited about meatballs falling from the sky just because it wasn't snow. So now I've always been one of those kids who, even when it was raining outside, I still played. Even if it was storming outside, that's me, dog, on my block. I'm singing the song by Scarface, My Block. So that's one of the lines he's saying, that even when it's storming outside, his friend to be by. That was that kid. I remember me and my friend used to play in the rain all the time. And as an adult, I still love the rain. I think it's one of those opportunities when your spirit tells you just jump on out there and dance in the rain. Let it wash you anew, right? So I love the rain, especially as long as the power stays on. I don't like it when it starts knocking powers out and trees down and all that. It'd be too much. I accept it, of course, as a natural part of life, but I prefer it where I could dance in the rain. Anyway, so general discussion before we get started on our topic of assessing how we function within our doer ego is something that's kind of been in the forefront, or that's been reflecting back to me, or something that I feel like the universe is sending me signs and signals of something I need to really pay attention to. So, I don't believe in any coincidence. I just call it the synchronicity of life. So when that synchronicity starts kicking in, I start paying attention to it, right? And one of the things that's been in the forefront has been me in this position to begin to start recognizing energetic capacity, right? And ironically, in recognizing energetic capacity, it really winds up being an exercise on giving myself grace, right? So I had, over these last few years, together and individually, we've all done a bunch of work over the last 3 years or so to become the best version. Now, there may be more work we have to do, but we've done a lot of work, right? And in that, I've been spending a lot of times of cutting things out of my life, you know what I mean? Or not even necessarily cutting things out of my life, because I was thinking about my diet specifically. It's not I'm cutting food out of my life, but I'm cutting my old eating habits out of my life, right? And you may be making some adjustments to your life as well. And what winds up happening is at times we can be a little hard on ourselves because we have this plan that we want to change. Once we know all the things that we want to change, sometimes can be overwhelming, energetically and emotionally overwhelming for us because we want to change them all at once, right? But at some point, there's no way that we can do that. And as we're evolving into a more self-aware version of ourselves, sometimes we still struggle with focusing on the things that we aren't changing and lose sight of all the work that we have done. So recently I've been a little, not even recently, but over this transition, I've been a little hard on myself about some of the things that I'm struggling with to change or rearrange or reshape in my life, right? And it's ironic because of as I stabilize the things that I am changing, whether it be exercise, whether it be diet, whether it be my emotional health, creating boundaries, all those things, even the show, writing a book, all those things, right? So as I find stability and create the routine in those things, I start to notice that my focus and my energy starts shifting more into the things that I couldn't do. So one of the things that I've been struggling with personally has been snacks. I'm a snack. I love snacks. And I tried to get a little smarter about my snacks per se, in the sense that I definitely started looking at the calories, fat content, sugar content, all these things. So I've gotten a little smarter about my snacks. But snacks are still it is something that I love. I'm a snackaholic, right? And I've been hard on myself because of all the things that I've changed, or all the things that we work to change. You might still be focusing on that one thing, and I've been a little hard on myself about that one thing, right? But the other day, I was doing some self-reflection, and I can feel my energy focusing or shifting to this space of, all right, so now we can focus on stacks. And it really sounded like that. The self-talk in my head came as though a voice from beyond, and it sounded like, all right, so now we can focus on this next, right? And that's when it hit me. We all do have an energetic capacity. There is a sense of a time and a place for things. And we don't always have the energy to do all of the things, but once we accomplish some goals on some of the things, then we create the space for us to be able to address the other things, right? So this is why I said it winds up being an exercise on grace, because once we understand that these things have the time and the place, once we understand that our energetic capacity, and it's ironic because I always talk about energy as a framework of a pie, only 8 pieces of pie. And I generally tell everybody, and I tell you, make sure you keep half of that pie for yourself. 4 pieces of an 8-piece pie. You got to give that out to your responsibilities, whether it be family, whether it be work, whether it be loved ones. Any of those 4 things, those things are always going to be out, right? So now you got 4. Now you don't always need 4 pieces for yourself. So sometime where the 4 that you have out, they need 2 extra pieces, you can give that. But you have the 4 pieces that you keep for yourself. So it was ironic on how I understand this and how I explain this to other people, but I was struggling to apply this understanding to my own life because I could not give myself grace for when I was already using my 4 pieces of pie. So now after I've got some stability and one of those pieces of pie is now freed up, I can now apply that energy to some other aspect. So when I say this to you, it's also a time that you're doing so many things, so many great things, that it is okay. Give yourself some grace that you cannot do all things at the same time. And then understand that you move with faith and hope that when you create the stability of these things that you are working on, it will create the space for you to be able to work on those other things. There's a time, a place, a reason, and a season, and it is okay. Give yourself that grace. Also, we had this, I always, hey, Toddy, I don't want to leave you hanging. So glad you can join as always. I appreciate you. I saw this video today and I thought about you. I probably should have sent it to you. It was this little girl, and I guess she was grocery shopping. It looked like Walmart with her daddy. And that little girl saw them chicken nuggets, and girl, she hit that. She started singing, "Can we get some chicken nuggets?" And I cried because that made me think about when you got chicken nuggets from your daughter. She was like, "How many this?" Kids love chicken nuggets. They make you sing. They make them sing. It make them question your authority as a parent. They just be wilding out. So I just really thought about you and your daughter around that chicken nuggets, chicken nuggets, chicken nuggets, chicken nuggets, chicken nuggets. I'm going to see it again. And when I see that little girl, that little girl sang. She sang so good, I can't do it. And I can sing. And she looked like she was probably about 4 or 5. She hit that old church riff, like, "Can we get some chicken nuggets?" Then she came back with a second verse, "Daddy, can we get some chicken nuggets?" I feel you. I promise you. So, chicken nuggets is important to children. I love chicken nuggets too. I ain't even gonna lie. That is one of the things that I miss, because I have not ate a chicken nugget in I don't know how long, right? So, being mindful of processed foods and things like that. Not saying that I don't do it, but it's very rarely of those things, right? So, in men's group, we were asked a very good question. And to me, this question wound up making me really start applying some of the conversations that we're having around ego specifically. So the question was, and I'd like you to answer it if you have some time. The question is, when you are triggered, when you feel those emotions overwhelm you, and not even overwhelm you, but overflow within your body, when you are triggered, what are you protecting? What are you protecting, right? So initially, I'm thinking when I'm triggered, the first thing we got to do is, do you even recognize when you're triggered, right? It's ironic because if you are seeing someone being triggered, experiencing someone else being triggered, you cannot tell them that they are triggered, because that only triggers them more. So they have to have the self-awareness of being able to recognize when you are triggered, right? And then, at first I'm thinking, when I'm triggered, I'm protecting my feelings, right? And then I thought, well, I'm protecting my ego. And we've been having a lot of conversation around ego. And one thing that I surely understand and hope that you share this understanding with me, we don't protect our ego. Our ego is a protective measure for us. So when I answer this question, what am I protecting when I am triggered? It can't be ego, because my ego shows up as the protection mechanism. So then I had to dig a little bit deeper. And that's where this idea also comes in, where I talk about you got to ask the question 3 different times. So we just did 2. We started with my feelings. Then we moved into the ego. And then I asked myself, what is the ego protecting, right? And I thought about all these conversations that we've been having around ego, and a common theme or thread or lifeline emerged from our conversations about ego. Depending on what ego we are functioning in, we attach our self-worth to our ego, right? And our ego winds up showing up to protect our feelings of self-worth. So when the question is asked to me, or as I ask you, what are you protecting when you are triggered, consciously or unconsciously, we are protecting our feelings of self-worth, right? And I say that to you so that you be mindful that when the ego shows up, you can pause, take some breaths, and think about, what is that ego protecting? Why are you triggered? What are you protecting? How have you attached your feelings of self-worth to what's being had? Whether it be your thoughts or ideas, whether it be the work that you've done, whether it be your feelings of morality. All of those things are things that we attach our value to. And our value is a pivotal part of our feelings of self-worth. So I ask you, when you are triggered, what are you protecting? Honest question. All right, family. So now we can get into some of our previous discussion. So last week, I know we did knowledge ego. So let me get to knowledge ego. Knowledge ego. It's back here. Here we go. So quickly, what is the knowledge ego? Knowledge ego is the part of ourselves that builds our identity around what we know. Excuse me. I am going to, man, listen, I've been burping and hiccuping for the last couple of weeks, last couple of months. Whenever I'm doing some emotional work, whenever I'm working with others, I just start hiccuping and burping. And my homeboy told me the other day that I need to look up the spiritual significance of these things. And I did not. But I think I do need to now. Because I don't think it's a coincidence that it keeps coming up with ego, right? As we discuss ego. So knowledge ego is the part of you that builds your identity around what you know, what you understand, what you believe, or what you can explain. It wants that feeling of certainty. It wants that feeling of understanding, of expertise, and of intellectual competence. Some of the questions we talked about, how if you're functioning in a healthy ego, it helps you to learn critically. It helps you to learn and think critically, as well as knowledge will shape your wisdom. It works like this: knowledge, wisdom, understanding. Knowledge, that means you learn of it. You didn't know it existed in this world, and now you have knowledge that exists. Then you take that knowledge and you apply it to your culture or your ways or actions. And that gives you the wisdom. Wisdom is applying that knowledge to your ways and actions. And after you applied it to your culture, your ways and actions, you get the understanding. So it shapes your wisdom, and wisdom leads into understanding. And that understanding is a tool for grace and a tool for connection. If you are functioning in an unhealthy knowledge ego, it winds up equating your worth. No, scratch. Knowledge equals your worth and becomes attached to being right, having the answers, or even appearing intelligent. Whether you are or not, you just want to appear intelligent. Some of the questions that we asked ourselves to assess if we're functioning in healthy ways with our knowledge ego is, how important is it for me to be right in conversations? Are we one of those people who really deep down want to be right, feel we are right, but we use let's agree to disagree as a scapegoat of understanding, right? Not accepting other perspectives. As we know, perspectives are the tools that we use to navigate life. The more perspectives we have, the more tools we have, right? We asked ourselves things like, how much of my self-worth comes from being intelligent? We talked about how through school they separate us based on cognitive ability, and they show us different value based on the systems that they place us in. So how much of your self-worth is attached to being intelligent? We talked about, how do we deal with uncertainty? How comfortable am I with saying I don't know? Do I become anxious when things are ambiguous or uncertain? I responded to a question the other day. Somebody asked that when you first start dating someone, how do you navigate the uncertainty of the outcome, right? That question let me know that they are functioning within an unhealthy way with their knowledge ego, because they became anxious when things are ambiguous and uncertain, right? That's what the knowledge ego does. We talked about how we interact our knowledge ego with learning and curiosity. Do you seek information that challenges what you believe? Or are you functioning in this echo chamber that validates what you think, right? Do we challenge or validate? We talked about how we interact with our knowledge ego and intellectual comparison. Do I judge people as uninformed, unaware, or less intelligent? I told you I studied some things called mathematics for a while, and one of the main lessons that they teach you is 85% of the world is dumb, deaf, and blind. 10% are the controllers of the information that we see, and 5% do not believe the lies of the 10%. So even in that thought process, we are taught to function within our knowledge ego in an unhealthy way, because we put ourselves in the position to be able to judge people as uninformed, unaware, or less intelligent. But tonight, we're going to move into our doer ego. Doer ego. Doer ego. Get her done. Get her done. That's the doer ego, essentially. So the doer ego is the part of you that builds your identity around doing or being busy, achieving, producing, fixing things, helping, and accomplishing. It grounds itself in this idea of progress, control, and results. And because it grounds itself in progress, control, and results, it creates a great foundation for us to be hard on ourselves, because our doer ego is only assessing our value based on progress, control, and results. We don't even leave space for progress to be 2 steps forward, 1 step back. 1 step back, 1 step to the side. Because really, life is not a straight line. It is more of a zigzag, hopscotch, or one of my favorite poems. What is it? Crystal Staircase. Life for me ain't been no crystal staircase. It's been bumps and bruises, thorns and splinters. You hear me? Do you hear me? Because our doer ego grounds itself in progress, control, and results, we can be hard on ourselves for things that we can't control and the results that we did not accomplish. A healthy doer ego helps us to take responsibility. And remember, responsibility is different than accountability. Responsibility, not only do you have to account for what's going on, but you have to respond. So a healthy ego, a healthy doer ego helps us to take responsibility. A healthy doer ego helps us to pursue our goals. And it allows us a space to contribute meaningfully. If you find yourself not wanting to contribute, trying to stay away from contributions, that is also a sign that you are not functioning in your doer ego in a healthy way, because you are important. You have something to contribute. You just have to believe that it is valuable, right? When we are functioning in unhealthy ways with our doer ego, we wind up tying our self-worth to our performance and beliefs. Value comes from constant action and achievement. Those are those people who you hear talk about how busy they are. They always have something to do. That is a red flag, because they have valued doing more than rest and relaxation. You meet these people, you see these people. We are these people. When we know that rest is a reward for a job well done, when we get that reward, we question that reward. Is there something else I need to be doing? Is there something else I should have done? Did I accomplish everything I wanted to do? Right? We struggle with the gift that life gives us and allows us to rest and recuperate for our next journey. Right? So when we are functioning in our doer ego in an unhealthy way, it puts us in a space that we think that constant action and achievement is our value, our sense of self-worth. But we are more than what we are, what we contribute, what we achieve, and we are more than constant action. We do not have to always be busy and doing to be the best version of ourselves, because the best version of ourselves recognizes how important rest and relaxation is. So your body needs sleep every day so the cells can heal themselves. Things can digest. You can have clear thoughts, get energy. So as you function in life, you need that as well. You need downtime. One of the spaces that we talk about in the spaces of healing, in the 7 spaces of healing, is the space for solitude. That space for solitude gives you a space for rest, where you have all the noise is turned down, right? So, some questions As we relate to our doer ego, I am thirsty. I'm sorry. We'll assess how we function within achievements and productivity first. Man, y'all can say whatever you want about room temperature water. Give me ice cold water anytime. I'm gonna crush it. I don't care. Cool down my inside, you dig? So, as doer ego relates to our thoughts on achievement and productivity, one question you want to ask yourself: how important is it for me to stay busy and productive? Right? How important is it for you to stay busy and productive? Also, are you using your children as justification to function with your doer ego in an unhealthy way? How important is it for me to stay busy and productive? Not that important for me to stay busy. I'm a Pisces. I like my alone time. But even in that alone time, it is important for me to stay productive. I struggle with that. I'm looking at myself now as I compare where I'd want to be in this process, and I'm not there, right? So I'll be focusing on or thinking that I've been unproductive instead of being in that space of gratitude and valuing all the things that we have done over the last 2.5, 3 years. So I personally still struggle. I don't struggle with staying busy because I need that alone time, but I do struggle with productivity. I need to be producing, whatever that is. The one thing I struggle with myself now, and I even blame it on consistency, but it really ain't consistency because even inconsistent is consistent. That is a consistent path. So I know that even if I'm inconsistent, that creates a certain level of consistency within itself, right? Next question: do you struggle to relax without feeling guilty? Do you struggle to relax without feeling guilty? Let me know. Do you struggle to relax without feeling guilty? Um, yes and no. So I don't struggle to relax when I'm not being busy. I do struggle to relax when I'm not being productive. That bothers me. And it definitely can create feelings of guilt where that self-talk starts talking to me and yes, to what you struggle with relaxing. You struggle to relax without feeling guilty sometimes. Exactly. I appreciate that self-awareness, and I'm sure you can look around and see other people in your life that function like that. Sometimes that is how the system that we were raised in, that you always got to be productive. You always got to be doing something. You're not doing something, I need to be doing something. We see our family members, they always doing something, always busy, always doing something. We pass that down to our kids. We put them in 5,000 different things because they don't need to sit around doing nothing. They need to be productive, whatever that means, right? So, do I struggle without feeling guilty to relax without feeling guilty? Not when I'm not busy, but it is when I am not, when I deem myself as not being productive. And productive for me is getting closer, taking steps towards my goal, right? I do struggle with that. Guilt has been one of the things that I struggle with as on a lot of different levels. So I do recognize how that guilt can show up in my absence of doing, right? How often do you measure your day by what has been completed? How often do you measure your day by how many things you marked off your to-do list? I don't do that too often because I generally try to make, okay, it's wild. So it's kind of an oxymoron. So I think in some aspects I do it and in others I don't. I try to make my to-do list kind of short so they're actually accomplishable anyway. I don't have 5, 10 things on my to-do list. I probably have 3 things tops that I want to do on that day. And depending on what it is, 1 or 2 of those things can be shifted to another day. Honestly, if I'm being real with myself, right? So I generally don't make my to-do list too long, right? But what I do have a tendency to look at is what I haven't accomplished, or if it's something I forgot to do. I can be emotionally and mentally hard on myself, not based on what I have completed, but based on what I have not done or what I have not gotten. And it winds up being wild. So, for yourself, how often do you measure your day by what you have completed? Oh man, we rolling on the wagon wheels. Rolling, rolling. Next, we're going to access our doer ego in the framework of identity and accomplishment. If you couldn't work, you couldn't lead, you couldn't help or achieve, who would you be? If you could not work, lead, help, or achieve, who would you be? Who would you be if you could not do these things? Moment of transparency. I don't know. I don't know. And that is a part of this healing process, this evolution of the best version of ourselves. We are finding out who we are outside of the protection of our ego. So, who am I if I don't work, lead, help, or achieve? Who would I be? Now, life has given me some opportunities to be able to address some of these things. So, like, for example, before we started doing the show, I didn't work for 6 months. So I had an opportunity to figure out who I was without work. And you know what I figured out? I'm still a man. Work does not define my manhood. And that was one of the things I worked on hard. When I was a workaholic, they'll teach you as a man, if you don't work, you don't eat. A man is supposed to work and do this. Work, work, work. So I did that. And all it did was burn me out. And it gave me the understanding on why men die so much younger. Because of that doer ego. Their masculinity, their value, their manhood, their self-worth is tied to work. So I've had the opportunity to be able to separate my self-worth from work. Regardless on what job I do, whether I'm working in the lab doing science, whether I'm teaching 4-year-old kids, whether I'm standing in front of a college class as a professor, whether I'm helping programs to be good stewards of the money that they are given through grants. I am still a man. Loving, caring, thoughtful, considerate. Those are all the things I am still outside of work. I've had the opportunity to figure out who I am if I don't have the opportunity to lead. I've learned that the only people who really want to be leaders are the people who should not be leaders. The actual leaders know how much responsibility and accountability comes with that. I've learned that leadership can be overrated. Leadership helped me get grayer. So outside of leadership, I still am a hard worker. I still am thoughtful. I still am a planner. I still have vision. I don't have to be in the leadership position to be a good listener, a good follower. I'm good at spreading the message. So I've had the opportunity to be able to separate my self-worth and value from leading. I still sit in a space when it comes to help. Who would I be if I couldn't help? Of course, I'd still be all those things. But helping has been my purpose. I genuinely believe the best way to honor God, to honor yourself, to honor those that came before you and laid the foundation is to be a helper. Spirituality and religion tells us to go out and find a helpmate. So even in that, they tie our value and self-worth to our ability to help. So then when we can't help, we don't know who we are. Or we don't even know how to ask for help. If you are struggling to ask for help, if you don't know or don't feel safe enough to ask for help, that is a sign that you are not functioning in a healthy way with your doer ego. Because outside of that, outside of your purpose, outside of needing help, outside of giving help, you are still valuable in this world. In achievements, I don't know. Again, because achievement has been so much of my identity, and it's wild, this relationship that I have with achievement. Many of us have this relationship. As a matter of fact, I was talking to one of the brothers last night, and we were talking about freedom. And one of the things that I brought up, or how we talked about, is how we normalize our greatness. And some of the great things that we have done, we look at it as though everybody can do it. And we were talking about the sacrifice to get freedom. And in this conversation, we were devaluing the cost of that sacrifice as something as simple as giving people back their stuff, right? But we know to get this freedom, some of that sacrifice will come from things that we are willing to give. And sometimes that sacrifice comes from things that we never, ever thought that we would give. The example I used was losing a parent. I remember when my pops died, one of the biggest conflicts of emotion I had to deal with was grief of the loss and the joy I felt from the freedom. Because in that sacrifice, in that loss, I no longer had to live under the role of good son, whatever that meant. I could just be Anthony. I don't have to worry about honoring my parents, because all I had to do was honor myself. there was some freedom in that. I didn't have to carry the burden of fixing a relationship that I didn't harm or didn't destroy. I didn't have to be the bigger person because I'm trying to punch my own ticket to heaven. Right? There was freedom in that loss. And I say that because many of us have tied our value and self-worth to the things that we can achieve. So outside of achievement, I really don't know. I'm working to figure out what that is. Because many people know me from my achievements. My achievements help to be my resume. My resume is my name. Right? And the wild thing is I have that weird relationship with it where I downplay my achievements. That's how I started talking about where we lessen the greatness that we have done. I've done a lot of amazing things. When people used to tell me I should write a book because of all the amazing things that I've done, I used to think, hey, everybody do that. No one wants to see a book about that. And then I learned only 10% of the world will ever step foot on a plane. I've been on a plane more times than I can count. That is something, that is achievement, that is something to be proud of. That is reflective of your greatness. You've been in a place, you put yourself in a space to experience something that 90% of the world will never, ever, ever, ever get the opportunity to do. They don't, as a matter of fact, I've been buying since I rode on Southwest last. I used to be mad when they give you them pretzels. Because Delta or American Airlines give you them cookies. I wanted the cookies. But I flew Southwest. They gave me them pretzels. Them pretzels was so good to me. I started buying the pretzels. I got the pretzels, a bag of those pretzels right now in my crib. I was so glad when Publix started selling them pretzels. Because I love that Maui onion. I love it. I love it. But some people will never know. People see me buy that bag and they be like, why are you buying that? It reflects my greatness. Right? Next question. Do you feel uncomfortable when you are not contributing? Do you feel uncomfortable when you are not contributing? Or even to add to that, have you made yourself, your safe space, a space where you do not contribute? Right? So do you feel uncomfortable when you're not contributing? Or have you made not contributing your space of comfort? No, I don't feel uncomfortable when I'm not contributing at all. As long as that not contributing isn't a consistent thing. At some point, I'm a helper, I'm a giver, I want to contribute, right? But I understand that I don't need to contribute at all times, nor is it my responsibility to contribute at all times. So I do have a space of comfort when I'm not contributing. I feel like that's one of those, the universe providing an opportunity for a job well done. It ain't your turn to contribute, right? And sometimes you have to draw those boundaries for yourself because once you get known to be a contributor, people expect you to contribute all the time. Or if you create yourself a safe space and not contributing, people start applying your lack of contributing as a reflection of your intelligence. No, you just understand the responsibility that comes along with contributing. You just understand the vulnerability that comes along with contributing. Because when you contribute, people are going to judge what you contribute, good, bad, or indifferent. And many of the people that do judge us have no authority to judge our contributions. Next, we want to talk about how our doer ego interacts with our feelings of responsibility and control. Doer ego interacts with responsibility and control. Do I feel responsible for things that may not actually be mine to carry? Do you feel responsible for things that may not be yours to carry? For me, the most sobering experience is around this idea. And it is sobering to see how much stuff that people have given to you to help carry. Sometimes people seem like they have it all together because you are carrying half of that load. When we were talking in the men's group, or when I talk to some friends sometimes, I tell you one of the things that I've learned by giving people their own cross to bear is actually how much of their cross I was bearing with them. Right? And I think about that specifically as it relates to my family. Especially it winds up happening in families because families have this situation where this is all we got. You can't trust no strangers. So we wind up carrying the burdens and the sadness and the emotional labor for those around us, specifically as children do for parents. So if you are a parent with a child, be mindful on how much of your trauma, how much of your thoughts and beliefs that you are giving to your child, because you are helping, you are making them, you are forcing them to carry your burdens. I seen once I gave that stuff back to people, people couldn't even control their emotions. And then I recognized they never could control their emotions. I just learned to navigate them around their emotional behavior. So it looked as though that they controlled their emotion, but I carried the weight and burden of navigating their emotions. So that is helping them to control their emotions. Think about this as a child, how many times you've done that for your family. And I don't mean that type of crying in front of your kids, because tears are a natural emotion, right? I'm talking about when you come home, you are tired of work, you have no energy left, and your child walks up to you and says, "Mommy, Daddy, look at this." And they just do a jump in a circle. Does that make you angry? Does that make you frustrated? Have you said to your child, "I don't have time to deal with this right now"? Because inadvertently, you're putting the responsibility on your child to manage your emotions instead of you keeping yourself in check. So, do you feel responsible for things that may not actually be yours to carry? Yes, I have. And I am working every day to take that hero cape off and recognize I'm just a man, and that is okay. I am working every day to give people back their responsibility for their own emotions. I can't help you. I got my own emotions that can be all over the place that I need to manage for myself, and not manage my emotions around your lack of being able to manage yours, right? Do you frequently try to fix the problems of others? That is consciously or unconsciously. And yes, I do. Now I have gotten better. One of the things that kind of broke that glass or lifted the veil is when that ex said, "You got to let me make my own mistakes." I recognize in that statement that when it's somebody I care for, somebody I love, I don't want them to make mistakes. So I will wind up being one of those people that try to fix the problems of others. As a matter of fact, I'm in this space now where I recognize that me giving my thoughts, my ideas, my suggestion is a form of me sharing my energy. And I have a tendency to still share that advice and that energy with those people that I care about. And even in that spaces, they don't even care to do the work to protect themselves or avoid the mistakes that they're making. But I do. And I used to get so upset around this statement that one of my coworkers used to say all the time: you can't want more for the families than they want for themselves. They used to sound absurd because sometimes they don't know what they can want, what is out there for them to want, right? But there is some truth in that statement. You can't want more for others than they want for themselves. And it is okay to withhold or reserve some of your energy, your thoughts, your ideas, your solutions when there ain't your problems to solve. It's not yours to solve. Not yours to solve. And it's funny because as of recently, I've been having a friend. I promise this is about the third time that they've said, you sound different. And I generally give the same reply: I'm changing. One way I'm changing is that. It's not mine. You can have it. I don't even want to give you my thoughts, ideas, and solution. It ain't mine to solve. I don't even care. Because natural consequences are going to teach you. If the things in your life don't motivate you, there is nothing I can say. If the stress that the drama is giving you doesn't motivate you, there is nothing I can say. I cannot want more protection and safety for you than you want for yourself. So I am changing by allowing people to carry a little bit more of their own cross. That's what I mean when I say I've taken off that hero cape. I'm not a hero. Even though I may be brave, even though I may be courageous, I'm not finna sit here and shoot you with laser eyes. I'm not finna fly so I can take that cape off. How difficult is it for you to delegate? How difficult it is for you to delegate? Not that difficult for me anymore. Work helped me practice on that. I was a firm believer, and you may be still one of these believers who has this motto: if you want it done right, you got to do it yourself. But I've learned other people do it right too. They're just going to do it their way. And I need to relinquish that control and give the space for people to do things in the way that they would like to, right? So it's not difficult for me to delegate. That's one of the first lessons I had to learn in leadership. You hire smart. In life, you get the right people around you, then you can delegate some of those responsibilities. They don't mind help you carrying some of the load for a little bit away. It's biblical that someone will help you bear your cross. They just will not carry your cross, and they will not help you bear your cross the entire way. So is it difficult for you to delegate? Is it difficult for you to allow people to help you? Is it difficult for you to tell people how you need support and help? If so, that is a sign that you are not functioning in a healthy way with your doer ego. We got 2 more sections, 4 more questions, and then we'll wrap the show up. Next, we're going to talk about how our doer ego interacts with our successes and our failures. I need to exfoliate. My skin is oily. And I only know that because one of my closest friends, one of my college friends, is an esthetician. And she told me, I always say, I got this dry, oily, where my skin will be flaking and peeling on my nose. But then if I rub it, and ain't nothing but look like I just rubbed my hand through some Vaseline. You got to exfoliate. And I trust her because she's an expert in skin. She went and got training in skin. I've never done that. I just know if it's soft, rough, calloused, smooth. That's me. That's what I know. So, with your doer ego and how it interacts with successes and failures, how do you feel when you fail to meet a goal? How do you feel when you fail to meet a goal? It really does depend on the goal. Sometimes I can be overly hard on myself because I didn't recognize I had unrealistic expectations. Sometimes I don't care because, what does it say? You fall down, but then you can get up. There's always an opportunity for me to try again. That is perseverance. So I know if I fail this time, that doesn't mean that's my only opportunity to reach this goal. I can try again. Sometimes I struggle when I'm in that space and I've had these things that I'd like to achieve, and I got 10 things that I want to do. I'm accomplishing 7 of them. But I'm so mad, so hard on myself about the 3 that I'm not on right now. That's what that conversation around energetic capacity was earlier when we started the show. How do you feel when you fail to meet a goal? Right? There is one goal in a moment of transparency that drives me crazy. And I struggle with a lot. And that is this goal of family. I would like to have a family. And in my mind, I would have already had it. People meet me now and they're like, you don't have it? They're shocked. So I still am working on that. Where I can feel sadness, I can feel guilt, I can feel shame. And we talked about separating our feelings of shame from being ashamed. 2 different things. But some of these things shows up, various emotions show up, depending on the goal. What emotions show up for you when you fail to meet your goal? What sort of self-talk? As a matter of fact, we talked about it, and I said that's one of those times where when I mess up like that, I'll be like, man, that was stupid. You should have known better. You could have done better if you would have done this. I can be hard on myself. You probably understand that. When you miss that shot you took, how do you respond? We see this, we talk about this when people's ego, we know that doer ego shows up. I'm thinking about it when women talk about men do not accept rejection. That's the question. Success and failures. They had a goal. They thought that when they talked to you, they were going to get your number. You said no. It created emotions from them not achieving that goal. And once we get those emotions, those feelings show up, and we start telling ourselves all types of stories. That is the doer ego showing up. When people respond in a negative way towards rejection. Do you feel pride or shame based on outcomes? Ironically, I don't feel pride. Pride makes me feel uncomfortable. I very rarely say I'm proud of the work I've done. It takes me a long time. If you've ever heard me say that, it takes me a long time to get to that space, because for a long time, I thought all the things that I should be proud of were things I was supposed to do. I was raised in a system where you don't be proud of what you accomplished. You were supposed to do that anyway. I didn't give myself permission to start feeling proud of things until I started recognizing that nobody else is doing this stuff. Right? So when it comes to that, when do I feel pride or shame? I feel less I feel less pride based on the outcome. Achieving the goals, anything like that, I'm getting better. Where I can be like, you could be proud. That's why the grace, I keep getting these opportunities with the exercise and giving myself grace. Be proud of what you have accomplished so that you don't focus so much on what you haven't accomplished. And then you can understand you still have the opportunity to accomplish those things. You just did 7 of the 10. You can't do all 10 at the same time. You only got 8 pieces of pie anyway. Right? You only got 8 pieces of energetic energy that you can share anyway. So it's okay to be proud of the things that you experience. So I do feel more with shame. I had to talk about it with the brothers, how shame motivated me. Feelings of shame motivates me. I don't want to feel shame. If I didn't accomplish it, I think I'm smart enough. If I wind up not seeing the truth of a situation, I feel shame. Or if I see the truth of the situation and I allow my emotions to make me delusional to those things, I feel ashamed. If I know somebody isn't necessarily moving in a space of integrity, but I still give them the opportunity to move in my space with that lack of integrity, I feel shame. And when I wasn't aware of it, those feelings of shame could easily cross over into being ashamed. But I do not have anything to be ashamed of. You do not have anything to be ashamed of. Even when you don't accomplish your goals. Even when you miss something that you should have saw. You can feel shame like, dang, but you do not have to be ashamed of that. Where you say, well, I always make these decisions. That is being ashamed of who you are. You don't have to be ashamed for being a person that gives grace and chances. So again, do you feel pride or shame based on the outcomes? Lastly, we'll ask 2 questions on how our doer ego interacts with our feelings of busy and rest. Is your schedule full because you choose it or because you feel slowing down? Now be honest with yourself. Is it because you choose it or you fear slowing down? The example I use when it comes to being a parent and our kids, some of us keep our kids so busy because we fear what can happen if they aren't busy. Especially if we live in one of those situations where we think idle minds are the devil's workshop. That is not true. It can be true, but that is a truth, not the truth. Idle minds can also be rest from all the hard work you've done. So, is your schedule full because you choose it or because you fear slowing down? I had a big thing with fear. And specifically, it was the fear of missing out. So I chose a lot of things, did a lot of things because I had a fear that I would miss out. So is your schedule full because you choose it or you fear missing out as well? Lastly, can you simply be without the need to do? Can you simply be without the need to do? So for me, as if I'm alone, I can simply be without needing to do. But if I'm in a crowd or in a group or in a setting where everyone is doing, I feel like I have to do. I used to struggle with this. I promise you. I remember at work, I would, we do potluck sometimes, right? And everybody's sitting around getting the potlucks together. They're going to make their plates. They're doing all these things. And I'd always have one staff member who would make my plate for me. And that would make me feel oh so uncomfortable. And in their mind, they thought that it's okay for me to just simply be. I've done so much for them. I've done so much for the families. I've done so much for the program. I've done so much all right. Somebody needs to do for me. And all I have to do is just be. That idea of my presence is enough. So that's where I struggle with that the most. When I'm alone, I can do nothing. I just sent a friend. It's that lady, they were talking about Thanksgiving. She said, all I probably got to do is sit around, eat some cakes and cookies, and get all fat and sassy. I just said that that's what I was going to do on Sunday. Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. But I was also alone. If I'm in here, somebody start cleaning, I need to get up and do something too. I can't just sit there and watch you work and I ain't doing nothing, even though the universe might be rewarding me for all the hard work I've done. And you got to do a little more work before you get that reward. So again, can you simply be without needing to do? All right, family. I thank you for this time. You got a bunch of questions that you can ask yourself to see or to have that moment for yourself. Write in your journal, meditate on it, do whatever's necessary where you can have some self-awareness and answer these questions. And you can see how you relate to your doer ego. And don't think that you don't have a doer ego. You do. All these egos are identity egos, and every one of them exists in us. Just some we need to work on a little bit more to make sure that we are functioning within a healthy way. So, doer ego. Thursday, if you're here, we will continue working on our Iron Man masks. Last Thursday, one of my friends asked me to look up the spiritual significance of Iron Man. And the one thing that sticks with me is that Iron Man suit is akin or equivalent to the armor of God, the protection. So I found this ironic that of all the things, of all the 3D puzzles we could have picked up, we picked up the Iron Man as a gentle reminder that we are covered, protected, and blessed. And God resides right within us. We don't have to go far. Right? So Thursday, we'll continue building our Iron Man mask and having general conversations. You can ask any type of questions. We can laugh. We can joke. If you can't be here Thursday, I hope to see you back here Tuesday. Next Tuesday, we will start working on our moral ego. And if we have some time, the victim ego. Consistently right now, we've only been able to do one of the egos on the night because we have so many other discussions. Don't forget, you can always join the show and have an energetic reading for yourself. So you can start seeing what type of energies you can start creating a space where you can separate your energy from those energies that were giving to you with even the best intentions. Um, I hope that you have a fantastic weekend. I appreciate you being here, helping to create this collective energy. I appreciate your thoughts, your supports, your love, your commitment to you being a better version of you. And I thank you for allowing me to be a part of that journey. So until Thursday, I leave you with peace, family.